Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I'm the finder of it. It's time for me to come out of the shadows and make my presence known. My name's Rick, and I feel that it's best to tell the truth, but not all of the truth. Forrest Fenn taught me that. Anyway, hope you're all doing well. Keep smiling. Now I shall go back to the shadows, explaining the end. We'll go from there. Okay, in this recording I want to talk about shoes. So here we go. So when we get to the last omega, which is marker number 15 and 3, there are these beautiful shoes on top, and they're socks. These are socks right here, socks right there, and these shoes. Well, if you go to the thrill of the chase, it just happens that on page 144 we have a picture of his Forrest Fenn's father. My father, born on 1903. It just happens to be the number 3, which is marker number 3. And if you look at these boots right here, look at those. And these boots, they're exactly the same style of boots. Button on the side here. So here they are, button on the side here. And using a 13-year-old imagination, and Forrest Fenn said he had plenty of imagination. It's on page 144, which, if you were to do the math, 12 times 12 equals 144. And now we have 12 and 12, which equal 24, the last omega. Anyway, it's just a thought. If you go to page 43 in the thrill of the chase, I'm sure you've all seen this. It's Gypsy's Magic, and Magic has a word value of 66. And you have this foot down here that's not connected to anybody. So there's a shoe, and then right here you have Nike written in the grass right here, Nike, and those are flying shoes and the Nike shoes. And then you have Force underneath the wagon, and this is an omega, and this is an omega. So, and that, there's other clues in here. You get the blaze, and anyway, but we're concentrating on shoes right now. So here's a hint to shoes. On page 57, we have Forrest walking with no shoes on. Anyway, the stories in the books, we can go over them, and I could read you and tell you what Forrest is saying, because he's definitely coded everything into his words with numbers and so forth. And after a while, you know what that word means. Anyway, right here it goes, I had no money, no coat, and no shoes. There's 3 things right there, so that takes us to the marker number 3. Plus, we got the value of 66 for shoes, and we got shoes. So there's how I connect it. Just a side note, it goes, we should have buried him standing up. And my interpretation is that's Skippy on page 54, and he's actually standing in the cemetery that I'm in, and he has a watch on, so his time ran out, and he's standing up, and he's got his fingers in the position of 2 and 4 if you look at it right, and that's 24. There's an omega. The end. Oh, an end is 23 in word value, so 23 is used a lot. Anyway, on with shoes. On page 67, it reads, I lost my shoes in the ordeal, Skippy lost his car, and Donnie lost his credibility. So there we have three things again, taking us to marker number 3, and it's talking about shoes. So just something that it all builds. It's all coincidental, but you just go, wow, it's over and over. There we have something. In the thrill of the chase on page 30, we have Forrest here, and he's sticking his foot up. And to me, I interpreted no shoes. And car actually is 22, and you can, it was on 1932. 32 is the blaze, and there's a lot of it clues in here. It's on page 30, so that's the end marker with the shoes. So there we are, some more hints, subtle hints. In Too Far to Walk, he talks about them going camping. It's in the chapter Quincy and me going fishing. Everybody knows this story. If you don't, you didn't get into the chase very much. But he talks about shoes in this chapter, and we have tires here, 2 flat tires, and that's the wheelwright at the end, the same grave marker. When Concy and I arrived at the lake an hour or so later, the best camping spot was occupied by a large tent. 4 men were wearing 3-piece suits, there's your 3, and patent leather shoes. We're standing around and talking, probably expounding on how wonderful it was to be out in their wonderful national park, and Forrest always considered it his national park. Anyway, it goes on that one of them, their boss, must have been wearing, it goes on, one of the finely suited men was wearing white Snickers, and that draws us to shoes. And so there's 3 wearing the other types of shoes, and he's wearing Snickers. There's another hint. He must have been their leader. So there we go. Some hints for shoes. Oh, something else I just remembered. If you're in the Too Far to Walk, he only numbers one side of the page, and that's a hint to a mirror. There's only one side that has numbers on it, and the other side doesn't. Anyway, it's a subtle hint. Anyway, in this picture, you can see their shoes all strung, and he mentions shoes in here. And we'll go. Anyway, he talks about floors a lot, and floor has a word value of 66. And in the picture, there are 3 pairs of shoes and 2 socks. So that gets us to the grave marker number 3 with the shoes. And it's got socks on there too, so there we are, some subtle hints. Okay, so this takes us to Too Far to Walk, and why was I not mad at him? And I is the only capital in the all the titles of the book, and it's on chapter 18, which 18 is the end number with the shoes on it. It's 15 and 3 added together, you get 18. And then this one has some great things, because right here we have a picture, and he goes, Viet Cong prisoner was wearing homemade, and he calls them shoes. These are not shoes, they're more like sandals. So but the other great thing is they're made out of tires. So we got a wheelwright here. They're round, and they're shoes. So that ties the shoes into the grave marker with the wheelwright. And now we have the end omega. And there's lots of hints, but here we are. Is it coincidence, or is there something to this? Question mark. Okay, we're on page 92 and 93, and 93 just happens to be when the 5-year-old boy was born. And then right here we have 3 crates in the wood, and he's got his boot up on top. There's the grave marker number 3, and then he's going through the window and coming out on this side, and that is our mirrored cemetery because he's going in on this side, but it's coming out on this side. So there's hints all through these pages, but you know, it's really hard to argue with the pictures. But we can get down to these, but somebody, you know, if somebody wants me to explain something, that'd be great. Anyway, please subscribe and hit like, hit dislike, do a negative comment, do a positive comment. I appreciate all of your input from this. You know, I think I sound like a redneck a lot of the time, but hey, who knows? Talk to you later. Here, next one, huh? Okay, we go to page 98, and we have a picture of Forrest jumping from the cliff to the pine tree here. And right here we can see an X right there. X marks the spot with his boot or shoe, 66. So, oh, and the next page is 99. He's jumping to 99. Anyway, we'll see it. And 99 is the end marker. Just a thought. And it's chapter 21. 1 plus 2 is 3. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that you can jump to some conclusions if you have imagination of a 13-year-old. Okay, on the next page over, which is 100, we have the cliff face. And probably everybody's heard this, but here's this object is the same as this object. This object is the same as this object. This object here is the same as this. Anyway, it's a mirror. Okay? Yes, it's not a perfect mirror. Yes, you have to use your imagination, but this is a mirror. So what do we find? A boot. So here's the boot. And this boot is pretty much the same angle as the one on page 98 if you look at it. And there's our little X marks the spot, 24 and omega. And we have, I mean, this one's hard to argue with. You got a mirror, you got the shoe, you know, 66. Anyway, if you can't see it, I'm sorry. You was never going to see it. Okay, so I guess I'm going to split this into 2 parts probably. It's going on and on with shoes. But anyway, this is page 126. And we have here Lost and Found, a saga. Anyway, this is 26, which, you know, we could play with this number. 6 and 2 is 8. There's an asterisk. You know, a story unwritten, and he's in a bed of a truck, and a cemetery is where you lay somebody down to rest. It has an ancient meaning there. I don't know, look it up if you want more. And then we have a smiley face on the tires. This is great. And face has a word value of 15. Wheelwright, you get it? 15, end grave marker. Let's look at that end grave marker. This is grave marker 15 and 3, and it's got other numbers assigned to it if you have imagination, but this is one of the original concrete ones is 15. So face calculates out the 15, and his father was a wheelwright. So there we go. Wheelwright, 15. Not only that, but we have a horseshoe. So there we have a shoe on top of that grave marker. So now we have a lot of things connecting it. And if you go to the Thrill of the Chase on page 126, it's interesting because it has a picture of the treasure there. And if you go Once Upon a While, which should be Once Upon a Time, time being, you know, runs out. Anyway, Once Upon a While on page 126, it has a knife, and it was found on the 3rd layer for number 3 grave marker, and the knife was used to cut the 5-year-old's throat from ear to ear. So red, I don't know. Anyway, So here we go, Forrest Fenn style. Okay, we go to page 133, and it just happens to be the number 33. All right, and then so we got some shoes here, and it's Mrs. Rockefeller goes Vogue. Anyway, so on this page we have 6 pairs of shoes here if you count them carefully. And anyway, you might have to count that one. Don't count these, but she's trying on 6 pairs of these moccasins. Anyway, and then she throws her old shoes in the trash, and trash has a word value of 66. Is it coincidence, or is there some method to this madness? Anyway, if we go to scrapbook 98, we have closet stories. And if you do a word value of closet stories, it comes up to an N number. Yay! 79. Anyway, we come down here and he's talking about, his shoes are in here and his Nikes. And if you come down here, of course, he's showing off his belt buckle. That's another clue. And then these shoes are different than his Nikes, so it draws your attention because these shoes are not the same as these shoes. So basically, right here, he's sitting on a pile of rocks. Rocks has a word value of 66 with his shoes at the end marker. Anyway, there's tons of stuff in here. If we read it, I could decode the words for you. And, it's so subtle, you might go, I don't see it. But that's why I'm doing pictures with his words. So just check it out. Okay, we're at scrapbook 103. And the numbers of the scrapbook matter because 103, well, we got 3. We're at marker number 3. And if you notice, scrapbook 32 is missing. Well, that's a blaze. So the opposite of blaze would be to be missing. So there's an opposite showing you the blaze, which is number 32. And of course, Dale Neitzel knew nothing about that. Anyway, so we're going down here and we're concentrating on shoes, and so's Forrest Fenn on number 3. Grave marker number 3. Shoes. Shoes. Yay! And there is prize shoes and all that stuff. And if he's going to some great event, he's going to use aluminum powder, and aluminum has the value of 13, a blaze. Anyway, just shoes. Let's just not get too caught up in it, other ideas. But either way, if you can't see the shoes in this one, I don't know how to make it more obvious. This is shoes, and it's number 3. And shoes is anyway, we go into it a lot more, but then it'd go on forever. Anyway, here we are, and this is scrapbook 130. 30 is an N number. 15 and 15 equal 30, and the N grave marker is number 15. So, and if you mirror it, you get 30. So here he's not tired, and in the poem I've done it tired is a hint to a tire, a wheelwright. Okay, I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. Anyway, and then it goes, so hear me all and listen. Good year. Good year. Anyway, that gets you the Goodyear shoes and Goodyear tires. Anyway, it's all in the poem. You just got to be able to see it. Anyway, here's his, his little, his slippers, and, they're just awesome slippers, and they're, anyway, read it. He's hinting to the end how great it is and all that great stuff. So we could go into more details if somebody wants to, but this has gone on. Oh, there's a sock too. Anyway, it just might be coincidence, but we're at scrapbook 174, and if you go down here, there's a war chief. The end. Uh, you know, uh, I don't know if he's a blaze, but here's some shoes, moccasins, and then you got the knife that cut the boy's throat at the end here, and you'll have to read it. Maybe there's more to it. I'm not going to go into detail right now. I'm just running through them. So we have something else dealing with some shoes. Well, I had scrapbook 184 down as shoes, but I couldn't find it right off. But it did remind me of he said something. I had nothing against him, and he dressed it like a statesman, but his shoes were too long. There's another scrapbook. Anyway, I could look for it. But anyway, and then in the Too Far to Walk, he's buying these African statues, and then at the end they do this haggling, and he takes his daughters out to buy new shoes. Anyway, there's shoes comments everywhere. So I don't know if you could find it in this one. Great, but I'm going to move on to the next. Well, it just happens the next one that I looked up is the one I just told you about. Anyway, it reads great right here. Aristocrat, like he looked like profiled aristocrat in his finest moment, wearing a three-piece suit and patent leather shoes. He looked like a prime minister, so he just won. He's the chief, he's the king, got the treasure, at number 3. The only fault I ever found with author was that his shoes looked too long for his feet. Although I did profess to be, he didn't profess to be an authority on either subjects. So, right there subtly, he wove in the last marker, which is number 3 with shoes on it. Anyway, if you can't see it, sorry, but there it is. Here we have scrapbook 215. So we got 15, the end marker again. And this one is, business partners, and it's just chock full of clues, And, he gets it was a $15,000 painting. 15 again, we get there, from Eric Sloan, and then, and then he gives 3 rules. Number 3, you must, work at the gallery. Number 3, and this has other meanings too. And, a lot of Billy Bobs and Mary Lou's and all these people that are working for, these people right here are all working for Forrest Fenn in the Thrill of the Chase. They're your talking heads. All these people are actors, and they are part of the game, So here we have some more. Oh, just a second. Anyway, we read in here where she planned to be in 5 years. That's the 5-year-old boy, and a few other nosy questions. And then it goes, they walked a few doors east to a shoe store, and it is, anyway, here's a shoe store again. And then he goes, I told Mary Lou that I had to run to the bank. So we're talking about the end, the bank. And while you're the banco, or the bank, or whatever you want to call it, while I was gone, she could choose anything in the store she wanted. Ladies really like shoes. All right? Shoes is the end here, Anyway, so he comes back and he doesn't pay, but he'll be back with a lot of cash. So this one's full of shoes and bank and and employees and all sorts of stuff. It kind of winds up this presentation on shoes. If you got any questions, comments, please be nice. Do it. I mean, call me names. I don't care. It'll be fun. Talk to you later. Thanks for your time.